you that are new today is the August podcast. And this is for the Emergency Room, which is an ongoing event, online series. So members of the Youth Collective will speak with various people in the industry, in the creative industry, and we'll just have open and honest conversations about the realities of what it's like to work in the creative world and how to get in. And we've got a really special guest today, so I'll let Selina introduce the topic for today and also the guest.
So our topic for today is there a right way to build a creative career? Today, many people are rethinking what a successful career looks like. Is a university degree still the only route? Are side hustles becoming essential rather than optional? How important is networking and connections in opening doors? And if you're from a background where opportunities can feel limited, how do you build the confidence to pursue a creative career? These are some of the questions we'll be exploring today. Whether you're a student, a graduate, someone considering an alternative path, or simply chasing a creative ambition alongside your day job, I hope today's discussion gives you practical insights and plenty to think about. But before we dive into today's conversation, we want to introduce our guest, Ben Tibbits.
Hello.
So just a little bit about what you do. Ben is a features editor, who's had, a not so conventional path, but has moved from Birmingham to London, has done freelancing and yeah, carving out a place in like a really competitive industry. So we're talking a little bit about his journey, and a realistic look of what it looks like to navigate the creative industry. But yeah, do you want to say in your own words, Ben, of like, yeah, introducing yourself, what you do, what you've, your kind of journey a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Ben. I'm 28. I'm from Birmingham originally. I've been there. I studied. I went to university in Gloucestershire and I studied music. My background was very much like I was a musician that just like yeah played like a bunch of instruments. Kind of finished university and worked all sorts of kind of like odd jobs. I worked in a betting shop at one point. I worked in an instrument shop at one point. I worked in a school for a couple of years. And then I was like doing some. I just kind of like fell into working for a little independent blog called The Pit London, which was kind of like focusing on celebrating alternative rap and soul and jazz and R&B in London. And we like threw events and had a radio show and represent. So I just kind of fell into that and then became editor when the editor left and started doing some freelance bits and then just kind of like took a plunge to move to London maybe like 5 years ago now. I think it was 5 years. And then and then worked in a coffee shop for like 9 months and then got lucky, just got a full-time job within so I work for a company called Visual Talent, which we have three publications, which is Wonderland magazine, Man About Town magazine, and Roller Coaster magazine. And now I'm the features editor, so I work across the print, all three print magazines, doing a lot of like profiles of musicians and actors and directors and sport and kind of cultural figureheads, as well as working on the online, kind of like being like the music and film lead for the online spaces. So kind of working a lot on new music and like yeah, shouting about upcoming artists and also travel a lot, go and do a lot of kind of like travel writing and festival reviewing and stuff like that. So yeah, I keep myself busy.
Wow, seems like you do it all, to be honest. There's actually levels to this career.
Yeah, all true.
Right. So yeah, literally, we're gonna take it back to your first steps. I feel like a lot of people they kind of move to London because they're like, oh, like this is where the opportunities are. But like, as many people decide to do, like, what made you decide to leave Birmingham for London, and how big of a leap did it feel at the time?
No, I definitely felt like a huge leap. Like everyone that I knew was either in Birmingham or like the surrounding hour or so where like my parents live just outside of Birmingham. But like I live with my brother. I worked at a school near where I grew up and like all my boys were there and like I had another brother who was living in London but not no one in the industry. Like, I didn't know anyone in the journalism industry apart from the people that I'd met through the work with the pit and through by that time I was freelance for I was doing a bit for magazines like Notion and Clash. But yeah, it felt like a massive leap. And I think I decided to move just because I kind of got itchy feet. I was good at what I was doing, and I had a bit of a different perspective to an industry that is has kind of like plateaued and flatlined a lot, and there's kind of a lack of agency and urgency. And yeah, I think I just wanted to make a difference and kind of just wanted to give it a shot, to be honest, and took the plunge.
Mm. I also wanted to ask, was it just straight after uni, or did you kind of chill in Birmingham for a little bit and then you went to London?
I was in Birmingham for probably about yeah, I worked straight from uni I started working in the school, I was a TA at the same time. It was actually something that really helped me was the fact that after working there so I finished uni in the summer and then following March was when COVID happened. I mean, it sounds crazy, but like COVID was actually pretty major for me in terms of it allowed me I had this job that I didn't really have to, especially at the start, that I was going in like once a week to look after the key worker kids, but by that I was just getting paid and able to really like hone in on the craft and like really like grow what the Pit London was. Because before me it was there was like a kind of like a blog side to it, but it was much more about events and radio and we started doing a lot of like remote interviews and we do lots of playlists and stuff like that and reviews and yeah, I just kind of like spent my lockdown just working, just like carving out what I wanted to do, I guess.
Nice.
I'm also just interested because you said you started off being like a musician
Mm.
and now you're writing, I guess, about also music. So where did that was that like a natural transition and like, will you ever revisit being a musician? Like how did you go from like sort of two sides of the coin?
Mm. I mean, yeah, I think it was quite like at school, for instance, like music, and the other thing that I was always really good at was English and like specifically creative writing. Um, like it was just something that kind of felt natural to me. So it was quite a seamless thing to start doing. Like not to say I was very good at it at the start, but then I just also just started doing it so much, and I felt yeah quite passionate about it straight away. And because I think because of my knowledge of music, whether it's kind of like the theory or understanding of genre or like just having been an avid interest, having an avid interest in lots of different types of music, especially British music from the last 50 years to modern music, because whether that's because of I was wanting to be influenced by it for my like personal musicianship or just like listening to it. I think that really helped, and it still kind of like helps set me apart as a music journalist because not every music journalist is has a musical understanding in the way that I do. Whereas like I was playing instruments from the age of like 6, so it's kind of always been a part of me. It's difficult to play as much as like I don't want to be a musician. Like I don't want to be on a stage. That was kind of why I stopped doing it. Like it was never really me. But like I still do do make music and would like to make more music. It's just I don't really have the hours in the day at this point in my life to do so, which is like yeah, something that is a little bit sad, but maybe is yeah, something that I'll revisit later in my life.
Yeah, I think it's such a relatable experience. I think me and Selena have talked about in our previous podcast of like balancing if you're teaching or like you kind of got your main role and then you've got your craft or your medium and creative
Mm.
practice and like how do you make time for both? And like sometimes you have to sacrifice one for a little bit, but
No, 100%. Yeah, like my hobby is my work almost. I'm up, like I don't really have hobbies. I don't like go and play badminton. Like I'm like at a gig or like at a
yeah,
festival, like
we're really immersed, quite literally.
yeah.
Um, And yeah, just moving on to the topic of freelancing and side hustles, you've touched on like the various jobs you've had. And also moving from like obviously Birmingham is also a city, but London we know is like kind of next level in terms of adjusting, it being really expensive and a lot of the time people just have to have multiple jobs initially to make ends meet and yeah, I guess get comfortable in the city. So how important were those sort of like high side hustles when you first moved and really building to the position that you are in now? Like sort of what was that? Were there any challenges in that process?
Yeah, I mean they were quintessential. Like the only the reason that I felt one of the reasons that I felt that I could move was because from Birmingham, I did have a bit of a, I guess, like a footing in the industry just from the connections that I'd made through the work that I was doing with the pit and with other with these, especially like starting to do with work with these other magazines. So that an opposite job to my job is like a publicist, and they're like they're really kind of important to people to know and to like build relationships with if you want to make it as a journalist. So through the pit, I was able to be introduced and work with a lot of these publicists. So I was, I started to build like a wide contact base by the time I was moving. I don't think it'd be wise to just like if you've never done it before and we're just like, oh, I'm gonna move to London and like hope I run into someone. Like it doesn't really work like that. You kind of like the contacts are you have to have them. You do not necessarily you don't have to be working as a full-time journalist to have them. You can like they're quite easy to find, you know. Like I mean me, I'm pretty easy to find. And I it's there's people that are like willing to and about to kind of help with that initial move, especially like I know lots of whether it's publicists, journalists, people in management or whatever, like lots of the people that do work in London and live in London and work in the music industry have come from cities around the UK or like further afield. Like it's people do understand it's not an industry that kind of like is gate kept by like there's maybe other creative industries that maybe I won't shit on, but like fashion, that are like maybe a bit more like, oh yeah, you need to go to CSM and be this person and blah blah blah. But like yeah, music we're all pretty chill. Like we can like try and help out as much people, many people as I can really. New journals and young publicists and stuff. Like it's what someone one person's success is everyone's success in my opinion.
I like that. I feel like we need more positive people in the creative industry as a whole. Because I feel like I don't know it what in the art industry, I feel like it can be a bit gatekeepy. And again, when you said CSM, I feel like that's kind of where it was at. Like when I went to uni, it was like very much so like oh, I don't know, certain people are getting opportunities. Like, oh, how do you get this opportunity? Like, I don't know, I just know this person.
Mm.
But before we kind of jump into that as well, before like landing your major roles working for Wonderland, Man About Town, and Roller Coaster, like what did freelancing look like for you behind the scenes? Because I remember when we used to work together, you were like, oh, I'm emailing, like when I go home, I write, I do this, and I was just like, this is insane to me. I had no kind of concept that like only now I realize no, you actually have to do those kind of things. Well, in my like I guess in my experience, but like yeah, what did freelancing look like for you behind the scenes?
I mean, for starters, like honestly, it looked like a lot of not being paid. Um, like that's the especially in as music journalism, there's not very much money in it. Especially as a like you will if you're good and experienced, like you might grow to start being paid, but even still, you'll have to be doing lots of different things to make ends meet. Like I know freelancers who are 10 years older than me that still they'll be doing copywriting and writing artist bios and stuff like that. Like no one makes good money as a music journalist as a freelancer unless you're like one of the guys like the top dogs. So yeah, it looked like not getting paid very much and looked like a lot of working evenings and like again like being working with building these relationships with publicists to kind of give you I guess like a bit of a foot in the door with the magazine, giving you kind of a bit of a cosign to be like to go to the say they've got they have a someone they want interviewed and they're looking for someone to write it and someone at them who works inside the magazine doesn't have the time or the capacity to write it. That's when you kind of like get the call up and if the publicist kind of like can put you forward and be like, I trust this person to do a good job. That's kind of like and that's now it's for me it's very much a roles reverse where like the publicist will come to me and be like, oh, I want this person in like I want to interview get this person interviewed. I can what about this writer? He's done this, she's done this. Um and like you kind of can give them the first byline. So it's all about yeah, just being able to say that you've written for them and like then build to being able to write for better and better magazines. But it is, I mean, it is all a bit shallow, to be honest. It is all a bit flaky. Because yeah, like people can write for a magazine one time and then put it in their Instagram bio. So it is all a bit like reality versus expectation,
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, off the bat of that, did you find that it was more about people like who you know? Because that is like quite a constant state saying for anyone that is wanting, like young people that want to pursue the industry, and we will constantly get told it's about who you know and not what you know. So is that quite true to your experience for like the writing music industry?
No, I think that's bullshit. I think it's what you know. I think like, but what you know kind of leads into who you know. Um, like first and foremost, you need to be really good at what you do and like have a
Mhm.
passion for it. And want to do it beyond like who you can meet and who you can find. And like, but who you know kind of comes with when you start doing it. Like you do obviously you do need to know people and you do need to know a lot of everyone. Like you need to know to kind of yeah to be the best that you can be at the job. Um, but like you don't need to like I said like when I came I didn't really like I knew publicists, but I knew them as in I'd emailed them once or twice a week. Like I came here not knowing anyone. And I saw these publicists as some of my best mates, you know. So for one, like you can grow to know people. You don't have to come into it knowing them. Um, Eventually you will have to know them. But it's not like you need to when you're starting out, you need to be like, oh, I need to have like a contact book with like Dave's PR in it. You know, like you grow to know people through starting to do the work. So it's just like starting off small and like building out the web.
I like that. That's actually quite refreshing to hear. And also, I just want to take it back to kind of like your university degree experience.
Mhm.
Because like during like my experience in university, like I started to notice like a shift of like the traditional like pathways leading up to having like a career. And in some ways, I feel like society is kind of moving away from this idea that in order to guarantee success, like you must have a degree. And people end up like having this degree and then they end up doing like the polar opposite of like what they have studied. So like for our younger audience who is studying and perhaps debating going to university or throwing themselves into work, did you always know that this is the career that you wanted to have, or did it take you some time to kind of get that clarity?
Definitely at university, I never thought about being a music journalist. Like I was, yeah, I was too busy having a good time to think about what I was doing, should we say. But like, yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah, none of what I was doing was at university was anything to do with this job. Like nothing that I learned at university sounds a bit scathing, but it's in my case it is true. Like nothing I did at university. I mean, I guess the no, nothing I did at university really helped me in this job. I guess apart from like life experience, like I do think that there is like as like an important kind of period of your life, like going to university and being that kind of like half adult, I think is really formative and useful. And like forces you to grow. Um, but like a lot of the time, yeah, like a lot of the time, the actual content of the degree is kind of pointless. I do think. I think maybe it depends on what kind of area you're trying to get into as well. Like I think a lot of people would disagree with me on that, especially like journalists. Like, and I do think that especially for like starter jobs in creative industries or like big companies within creative industries, they will be looking for like a good degree. Like if you like walk into Universal building, like they're probably gonna want and like you want to be like I don't know like like in management or work within a label, they're probably going to be looking for like a music business degree. That is quite a good one. Which I do think is you do need to learn these things. But then I mean if we're talking like outside of creative industries, I think most time like I would advise not to go to university. Like I've got nephews who are like like top 5% smart people who are like doing apprenticeships and like earning like 25K and also sort of getting a degree at the same time. Because nowadays it's like it's yeah, it just feels that by if you're just going to university for the sake of going to university,
Mm.
that's when if you're going to university with with like a career in mind, that is like and the degree is needed to get there, it makes sense. But if you're just going to university to like have 3 years of fun and then like not worry about what you want to do until you're 21, and then you come out with a 2-2 and you're back home with your parents and you're like, oh shit, I don't know what I want to do, and then you end up working at Morrison's. No, like big up Morrison's, but um, then yeah, like that feels like it's just wasting 3 years of your life and like getting you in a lot of debt because yeah, they're still taking that money. That's not nice to see go out of the paycheck.
Hmm. And I guess like kind of off of that as well. I guess like Umi, did you go to uni as well?
I did, and very similar to Ben, I don't know if I've used it much. I think I always reflect on this, like, oh, was uni really worth it? And I think because I went during COVID, I kind of had almost no choice because I thought I either stay at home in London and do nothing or, have a new experience and go and try a new town. So I think there was like a life experience element. But I do think that sometimes it's some job experience. Like I studied media production, but now I'm in kind of youth facilitation and woodwork and making. But there's still elements that I'd say were useful, but it doesn't, nothing equates or justifies the amount of debt for something that you didn't get like a full rounded experience from. So I would, yeah, probably agree.
And Ben, like, so if you didn't go to university and like, for example, you're speaking to someone that kind of wants to do what you're doing, like what kind of avenues would you say that they should take or what should they do kind of on the side that's almost like degree equivalent, but I guess it's different, but gives you kind of like that edge to kind of
I
what you're
think
doing.
like for one, like read like a lot. Like read fiction, read non-fiction, read every publication, um, read me, um, self plug. Um,
Yes, as you should.
yeah. Um, like yeah, just like read as far and wide as you can. Um, write, write like have a Substack. Um, like try and like I said, like people are not unreachable. And like if you catch an editor on a good day and you kind of reach out, like hopefully they'll reply. Maybe you can get coffee with them. You can get under someone's wing, you can start even if you're not writing for a magazine, if you're 18, you're not writing for a magazine straight away, like that's fine. Like maybe you can be given advice, you can be edited, you can start improving your writing that way. Like, I don't know what they teach it. I didn't study journalism, so I don't know what they teach at the School of Journalism, but I can imagine it's just a lot of reading and writing. Um, so like I think that's it. I think reading is the key. Like I read every as much as I can of other like contemporaries work. Like if someone's got an interview out, someone's got a piece out in 20, 30 magazines, I'm gonna try and read it. Like it's useful to get other perspectives and um yeah, see how other people operate.
Mm.
I'm curious to know if like what that process of securing jobs, do you have like an interview aspect to it where they would maybe test that knowledge, or is it all like very portfolio based?
For me, it was like I was freelancing for Wonderland before I got the job. So I'd done like a handful of print pieces for the mag, which again, like to get that, I just reached out to the editor, who's still my editor and a really good friend of mine. Um, and like, yeah, it was just like, this is the work that I've done. Like, I'm available for commission kind of thing. Like, or the alternative is that you pitch an idea, you come up with a pitch and you pitch an idea, depending on what kind of magazine it is and what kind of feature you're looking for. But in terms of, yeah, so I was very much on Wonderland's radar just as a writer. And then for me, it was that the person at first I was the online editor. So I saw that the person who was the online editor, I followed them on Instagram and they did put a story saying, um, I'm leaving pretty much, and new we're looking for someone to replace me. So I just reached out, and because I'd been the editor of the Pit for a while, I kind of had editor experience, and um, I just kind of I did get lucky. I got in at a good time, and it was so I did like a trial day. I think they had a couple people in to do a trial day, and I'm the one that got it. But like when I first got in, I was like horrendously out of my depth. Like I was running a social media account which had 1.2 million followers, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like I'm not very social savvy, so like yeah, you will. I was the first year of being there, like I was consistently feeling very out of my depth and kind of, yeah, it is like difficult, and you will be asked to do things and expected to be able to do things, um, that you've never done before, and that maybe you kind of have to pretend that you know how to do, so you don't kind of cause a ruckus.
It's kind of like that fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm still faking it.
I real. But also with that, I feel like that's also what stops like a lot of young people from kind of taking like opportunities because they feel like, oh well, I don't have the experience and like especially when you go through so many like rejections, especially when it's like you apply for a job and then they're like, you haven't got enough experience, and it's like, okay, um, how am I supposed to gain that experience? So like, kind of, what would you say to like the young audience about kind of like them wanting to, I guess, have this kind of career, but they feel like, oh, I'm not there yet, or I don't have the experience. Like, what would you kind of say to them?
I mean, gaining the experience is probably the trickiest part. Like again, I was lucky because the pit was this perfect kind of training ground where um there wasn't as maybe as much competition as like say if like say for instance we did something with Vogue College of Fashion a couple weeks ago, and then we've had like 100 probably yeah three digits worth of yeah, it's a bit of but like a lot of people just emailing us being like, can we have an internship? And we do internships. Like right now we have a couple of interns in for the summer kind of thing. But obviously like the competition is just so, especially if the university degrees, there's like the year where they need to find work in the industry. So like yeah, I won't lie, like it is difficult and it is really competitive. And at that it does help if you know someone, but it's like it's always worth. I think with that it's just reach out to every editor, every assistant editor that you can find. Don't necessarily think that you need to get like you don't need to get an internship at Dazed or Wonderland or GQ. Like go for go to like university magazines, like start from the ground up, go to, local papers, or if you want to work for a fashion magazine, but it's a like DIY magazine or like a car magazine, like it's useful stuff, like anything, even if it's just to teach you and to pop something on your LinkedIn, like it's useful. Like just take opportunities, even if you hate it, like you'll learn. Like you are gonna have to do some things that you don't enjoy in
Mm.
order to get to the place that you like. Like to this, like I still have to do stuff that I don't enjoy. We all do. Like it's how life works. So kind of the sooner you get to accept that, the better, and just kind of like grit your teeth and like reach out to people, talk to people. Um, and yeah, just like put yourself about, get your name about.
I feel like that's good advice. We're kind of going to move on to the underprivileged kind of backgrounds, kind of. So, Umi, do you want to?
Yeah, so Arts Emergency, I guess a lot of the values of the organization is getting young people that are in marginalized backgrounds into the creative industries and like building community with each other, and like we have like a mentor and mentor scheme. So a lot of us come with, yeah, different backgrounds. Um,
Mm.
and you've worked and interviewed like various big names in the industry. It'd be good to know, so kind of two-part question. One, who's been your most memorable so far? And off the back of that, have you ever struggled with like imposter syndrome? It's something our young people within Arts Emergency have like talked about and expressed that that's a big barrier. And if so, how did you overcome it?
I mean, I started the imposter syndrome part in like, yes, of course. Like, if you don't have imposter syndrome, then just you need help.
You're
I think
AI,
like,
you're a robot
yeah,
if
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have
Like,
imposter syndrome.
of course, like all the time. Like I said, like the first year of working there, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Pretty much every day. Like, I didn't know how to do it. So yeah, it's normal to feel that. I think like. It's in that how you overcome it is just like for one like everyone's journey is different. um you have to trust, you have to be like I'm confident in my own ability to do what I do, and like I'm not like you can't be afraid to make a mistake or to not know how to do something, I think, or to be anxious, to be, yeah, to feel that you have something to overcome. I think it's that's life, right? Like you can't just walk into something and expect to know how to do it or expect to like be okay in these rooms. That happens all the time. Like I did panels sometimes. I did a panel in Montreal. It was like Montreal Music Week Festival I did last year, and it was like, and I went into it just kind of the opposite of posture. I went into it being like, oh, I'd done a couple panels before. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be absolutely fine. Like, didn't like prepare at all. And I go into it and I'm there, sat around with like 40, 45-year-old, 50-year-old journalists and like radio plugins. It's about radio. I don't know the first thing about radio. And I just like for an hour just sit there like I don't know what I'm talking about. Um, so you kind of have to like, well, either I guess humble yourself sometimes and like realize that like you're also like you're always learning, you're always a student. Like I've got so much more to learn. Like I learn every day, I learn every week from the people around me and from the people below me, like everyone. So yeah, like don't feel like an imposter, just feel like you have a lot to learn, that you're a student. Um, and then on interviews, it's a hard one. Like, I mean, like the big one that I did this year, like the one that was the biggest for me was that obviously we did a Gorillas cover, so I interviewed Damon Albarn and Jamie Hewlett, which was like, I'm like, for me that was massive. But I just do so many, to be honest. Like I did, like for me, the bigger names aren't always the best interviews. Sometimes they are. But like one that always stands out to me is well, I'm gonna name drop Declan Rice because I did a Declan Rice cover last year and that was pretty cool. I recently interviewed Suzanne Vega, who's obviously like a legendary folk artist, so it was pretty nice. But then this band, actually, also just a recommendation. This group called Brick Nasty, which is
Seen
Irish.
them live, they're great.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yes, see the performance.
Um, yeah, there's someone like I interviewed them maybe like 18 months, 2 years ago, and like it was one of like for me like interviews are about understanding the persons. Um, and like I hate doing Zoom interviews, and I hate like for me I want to like spend a day with them and like really like and not have the publicist leaning over your shoulder telling you what to say all the time. And but like and that was it with them. Like I took a photographer, we spent the day together, and like the lead singer of that, who his name is Fat Boy, is just one of the most interesting and compelling people I've ever
You
met.
always wear his mask, by the way.
I not when we were doing the interview.
Okay.
So I was still
I
I was
always
still
wondered, does anyone actually know what's under there?
yeah, like he does outwardly. But yeah, they're just like an incredible band, and his story is just absolutely insane. Like what he's been through and like what he's overcome. Um, and that yeah, his musical talent is crazy. So that's one that I always like. Yeah, I always think back on, and like I still yeah, like really respect and rate him and the band.
Has an interview ever like you've gone in it, you want it to go a certain way and it hasn't? How has that happened to you and how do you like navigate that?
Yeah, like sometimes there'll be interviews where they don't give you as much as you want them to. They can be difficult actually. Oh no, I can't really say the name of the person
Yeah, don't
if
get
it's not
yourself in
because it's not
trouble,
out
but
yet.
yeah.
Yeah. But I did one literally last week with like a pretty major American. rapper who has been in the news for he can say some yeah he can be quite controversial. And he was like a really difficult interview. Like he was quite aggro-y and quite difficult to get like answers out of the and to kind of like form like 'cause it's kind of all about forming some kind of bond and relationship with the person in the short time you have with them. So yeah, like sometimes it can be tricky, but you just have to kind of like realize that you are an equal to them.
Mm.
Like no one, they don't hold any more power than you do, and that you're there for one reason, and that's to get as good quotes to tell as good a narrative as possible. Like ultimately, you're not there to be their friend, and if they want to be that way to you, then you be that way a little bit back. You know, stand your ground and be you know have some autonomy and in the conversation and yeah, back yourself. I think is the key.
Is it always guaranteed? Sorry, I've got so many questions about like just the industry because I'm not
Yeah.
that I'm pursuing journalism, but I am interested in music journalism, or maybe like an era of mine. But
Mm.
does it always guaranteed it'll get published? And like, does the or the publicist say like, no, you can't print this or this can't get released?
It's like it's kind of like back a day they used to magazines used to hold more power, right? Where like they could, if like whatever the talent said, like they could probably. But we're like not here to try and like, especially as magazines, we're very much about celebrating and about shining a light on people rather than like trying to make them look bad. So for one, like if they say if it's like we never say something negative really about people, but like also it depends like for the print magazines we will send to the artist teams for we fact checking, but like yeah, pretty much if there's something that they're like uncomfortable with, we obviously won't print it.
Actually, I wanted to ask as well, like, what do you do when there's like a super dry person? Like, you're coming with these questions and you're like, and sometimes like you might be even excited because you're like, oh my gosh, like it's this person, like I actually like them. And then when you meet them, it's like, God, like how do you even deal with that?
I mean, you just yeah. At first, it is like it can be again. Like I've done so many interviews over a period of 5 or 6 years at this point. So you kind of like know it's kind of like part and parcel of it, but like it can be, especially when it was at first, it could be pretty demoralizing. But you just have to, you can usually pretty gauge it pretty early within the first 5 or 10 minutes how it's going to go, and then sometimes you'll be on a sometimes especially if it's in person, maybe you'll be and you get on, you'll be there for 3 hours or like and like yeah, you'll like really like get to know each other as a person. Sometimes you'll be on a call for less than 20 minutes, and that's okay as well. Like ultimately, it's about them, and like it's more about it should be like it's in their it should be in their that they should want to like portray themselves in the best way possible. So like, and if they don't, and they give you very limited to play with, that's on them. They're the one that's going to look dull in the. You can do as much as you can and make them sound as interesting as possible, but ultimately, it's them that's going to look a bit dry when the piece goes live. But it's like yeah, it's whatever. Like there is, I would say that also it is down to you a little bit. Like most times, even if it is dry, like if you're good at what you do, you can get something out of them. Like the one I was about last week, like we did get there. It took us a while, but like I did get him laughing, like it does sometimes some are just harder work than others. Like if you're good at what you do and you're a good conversationalist, like most of the time you can get something. Like you just need to find what interests them.
Mm,
More than anything. Like you don't ask them the tropey questions. Don't ask them, oh, so what influences you when you make music? Like ask them interesting questions.
mm,
And like especially if it's in person, I have a rule where for one, I don't really do questions anymore. I'll have topics, I'll have areas. And if you're prepared enough, you don't need so definitely don't look at your phone. Um like maybe you can have a little notepad with a few notes on, but like again, you don't want to be like staring at it and be like, okay, next question. Like you're having a conversation. Um And like yeah, like don't just like ask about music for the first 5 or 10 minutes that you're with them. Like treat them like a person and then grow into the conversation about their art, you know. I think that's the key. Like make them understand that you're just, you know, you're just a person and like you're just here to have a chat with them.
When you've only
Mm.
got like let's say 20 minutes and they're doing back-to-back interviews, they might be like really
Mm.
tired. How then do you streamline that and like really make the most of those 20 minutes?
Yeah, that is when it can be more difficult. Those like yeah, people everyone kind of knows the situation in that, you know, like we are in it for a short time and you do kind of have to tick certain boxes. But again, it's about preparing, over preparing, understanding what other journalists are more likely to ask. Um, really like reading through what's already out there about them and like don't ask them questions that they've already been asked about. You know, like try and think outside the box and in what and like even like always try and plan your piece before you even talk to them. Like, but the question should have a running thread of what the narrative of the piece is going to lead to. Like, don't go into it just be like a, a wide set of questions, trying to like fit everything if you only got 20 minutes. Like, choose like a shard of the story and base it around that and build from there.
So one of our fellow youth collective members had a really good question actually. They said, as an editor overseeing the creative vision for a project, what's your process of curating and making all the pieces in a magazine speak to each other, especially if it's like multimedia?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can be do like for instance, for our print magazines, we'll offer we've te usually had a I mean, for one, on a wider thing, it's about knowing, on a wider level, it's about knowing what the aesthetic of the magazine is and then about what the demographic and the audience wants to see. A lot of the time for that, it would be about, you know, in our print magazines, a lot of it is based around talent, right? We shoot, we style, we profile talent. So it's about knowing who's interesting to the audience, who's got projects coming, whether it's they got a film, they got an album, whatever. And then with specific, like Wonderland, for instance, is quarterly, so we have 4 issues a year. Like we've usually had, well, like we've had issues that we did like a pop issue, where it was like everyone was kind of like pop adjacent in some capacity or pop culture adjacent. We have like almost like a thematic starting point to build around for the issue. And then it's also kind of like working with the art team for like what kind of visual language they want to kind of like just like explore for this album. It's just kind of like working together as a cohesive team from everything from like the talent that we pick to the visual aesthetic to the way that we write and the stories that we want to tell. But like it's easy it is a lot easier when you have especially like Wonderland specifically because it does have a real identity, it is quite easy to, and because because we've had the same team working on it for years now, like we kind of like know what we're doing with it. It's kind of like you know, we kind of just kind of like bang them out at this point.
Also, has there been like a shift, or have you noticed a shift in the print industry? Like, has there been a decline with everything being digitalized, or is it still very much like popping and people are still?
It's kind of like done the opposite at this point. Like we there was definitely a decline when I was first coming into it, or like in the years. There's I mean there's a couple of great books on it. One by a writer called Ted Kessler, who was in Enemy and in the editor of Q in the I think in the 2010s. And it's called like I think it's called Papercuts and how I destroyed the music industry or something like that. But that's kind of like especially well mu if we're talking I mean music and print industries are music journalism and print industries are maybe slightly different, but in general, like yeah, it does seem like there was a massive decline in the 2010s, which 2010s were just a bad era for most things. Like music in the 2010s was pretty poor in general, and like it definitely like culminated in COVID. Like I think that there could have definitely been a like print could have died during COVID, and it did like flatline. But I think there's been a shift back in rather than like buying magazines to read every word of what's inside it because you can read it online, is now I mean, the easy comparison to make is to something like vinyl, where it is more of a collectible. It's more of a coffee table piece. It's about owning these images and having something physical and to manifest. And um, so yeah, like actually we have. I mean, it was in large part to who we had on the cover the last issue, but for our spring issue, it was our highest selling issue all time, and we're talking over 20 years of making magazines. So like, but get out there and buy a print magazine.
Mhm.
It's down to young people as well to keep the industry going and to improve the industry. So yeah, like it's important to like buy them, and they're beautiful things to own. Like, they're and to look through and to have in your home. Yeah, why not buy them?
Yeah, because I always wonder, I guess younger generations or the upcoming generations are they're so immersed in like the short form content. I always wonder like if they realize
Mm.
that actually the way to get information back in the day was, through newspapers and through print. So it's nice to see that it hasn't died and it actually is having like a reemergence, if
Yeah,
anything.
I think like a lot of people, I can't talk for people 10 years younger than me, but a lot of people in my generation are a bit disillusioned. I mean, I've always been disillusioned with it, but I think a lot of people are becoming disillusioned with, um, yeah, the kind of like the emptiness of social media, and yeah, we can only hope and kind of push and drive that people to see that and to realize that there is little worth in it, and there's a lot more worth to be found in long writing and owning print magazines, and it's like it's a different, they shouldn't be comparable. They should be like these things can coexist, and not one doesn't have to invade the other.
Actually, I had a question as well. I feel like as a creative person or the industry, it doesn't really matter what you do. Everyone kind of has this panic about AI. Like, how does that kind of like fit into kind of like your like world? Do you feel like it's something that is like, oh, like, this is gonna have like a serious like detriment on the industry that I'm in, or is it something that you're like, oh, we can actually utilize it?
There's definitely ways to utilize it, but it's more about the people that have access to it, like the billionaires and the fucking creative oligarchs, like have them having free access to and free money to twist these things is where I see like feel real ominous about it. And it will, and it already is impacting, I think maybe music journalism specifically a little bit less, because at least at the moment, it can't, and maybe wow, I can only, yeah, I hope that it can never kind of write with the kind of like personality and character because that's what people read music journalism or journalism in general, but like other creative areas, of course, like I mean, you remember like my Jack's one of a good friend of mine who's been like an audio engineer, and he's someone that like something like that is suffering a lot more, just because like that is just about like streamlining a process, and like it's not about necessarily having you have your own style, but you don't have a voice in the way that like a journalist would. So like that is something, or like yeah, like a production designer, or like a product designer or whatever, like those kind of industries like fear for more. But I think it is something that like we should be very wary of without being afraid to use. I don't use it at all personally, but I think that there's ways that people can use it sensibly. I think it's just about like understanding its dangers, and but understanding the positivity that can kind of come from it as well.
Actually, I know that we're actually kind of running out of time very soon, but I wanted to ask as well because I don't write at all. I mean, I wish I actually could, but I just feel like I don't have the wit or nothing like that. But like, is there times where you kind of hit a wall and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything to say, or do you genuinely always have something to say? You know what you're going to write about, or you're always inspired? Like, how does that come about for you?
I think I'm in a privileged position where like what I write about is kind of most of the time given to me. Like I said, like especially what I've spent most of my summer doing is traveling. And I've got like a feature series on Wonderland called A Trip To, which is just like a diaristic piece about the travel and like kind of mischief I get up to when I go on the travel. So I just kind of like go somewhere for 4 or 5 days, whether it's a festival, whether it's like I went to the World Cup, went to Mexico. I recently went to Jamaica for like with like a rum brand to like just like get up to some business. And I just kind of like yeah, just like do stuff and then write about it and just kind of use my personal t tone of voice to like make it interesting. But like there can be times where if it's like if it's been an interview that's a bit dry, and I'm not that interested in the person that I'm writing about, like getting going can be a bit of a struggle, but like I don't know. I think it's just one of those where it's like your job, you just grit your teeth and do it. Like, I wouldn't say I get writer's block. I do find it, luckily, I do find it fairly easy to kind of just get in the swing of things and write the words.
Hmm. Okay, so also like a bit of advice for the young people. How do they kind of like, well, what do you do like when you have writer's block? Like, what kind of helps you kind of come out of it?
Read again,
Mm.
read other people's work is the key. Read your own old work. Remind yourself that you're a damn good writer. And yeah, just like event like don't like put pressure on yourself to like having deadlines stuck. So don't try and not. This isn't university anymore. Like don't like wait to the last day to write your piece. Like give yourself the time and space to write your best work. Don't rush it.
Mm. Thank you. Umi, is there any more questions or should we
Um,
move on to reflection?
Yeah, I think we'll just wrap it up. And also, yeah, thank you for your wonderful insight and
Oh, of
wisdom that I'm
course, my
sure the
pleasure.
young people will really appreciate. And yeah, we've talked about things from freelancing to side hustles to, what life is actually like as an editor and working in, yeah, writing and journalism. And just like a final reflection, especially a lot of this is to a lot of our like mentees are in A levels or just starting uni, so they're really just kind of curating what they want for the next, career life plan. So if someone's listening and they're working a day job, but quietly chasing a creative dream, kind of behind the scenes, what's one thing you'd like them to know here, something that no one ever told you, but now in the stage you're at, you find like a useful piece of advice?
That your voice is unique, your voice is different, and that everyone's journey is different, and that like just because someone else is succeeding in and you're seeing someone else like yeah, don't look at other people's Instagram and think it's that they're doing what you want to be doing and they don't feel envious of them because I guarantee like behind that they're not. Like they're just better at masking it. So just believe in yourself.
Mm.
Just believe, you know.
Literally just believe. So real.
I'm work hard. I work harder than everyone else. That's how I did it. I worked my ass off for the last decade. You know,
Yeah.
that's the only way to do it.
Well, thank you so much, Ben. I feel like this was
Pleasure.
really insightful, maybe for me as well, because like I mean it's been years since I spoke to you as well. But also like I guess Umi, you do like a lot of like freelancing things and kind of like
Yeah, I'm in that. Yeah,
yeah.
in it actually, because like literally what you said about the highs and lows is sometimes where you're like, damn, what am I doing? And then there's loads of work,
Mhm.
and there's like, I don't actually know what I'm doing next week. I think the main like kind of bone to pick with freelance is like you just kind of never know what you're doing, which I think I love personally. Like I actually don't like having a structured lifestyle, but it's those moments where like your brain can literally like eat you up. Be like, are you on the right path a little bit? But yeah, it's good to know that
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's just
common experience.
one of them. It's yeah, it's every like people older than me, like feel that as well. Like I think it's something that yeah, if you want to do it that way, you just have to accept that things are going to be a bit topsy-turvy and like things are going to be unclear at sometimes. But you're
But then
doing
the
these
fun
things that you love.
outweighs, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The
Exactly.
experiences outweighs, if I wasn't in
Yeah,
that. But is
exactly.
there also just on a last note, anything you want to plug, anything, you're working on at the minute that's really exciting? Yeah, share.
I mean, just yeah, like I guess check out some writing, check out some our magazines, and like also feel free to reach out for advice. Like I'm literally here, like and um
We need more people like that in the industry for sure.
No, honestly, seriously, yeah,
Let's not gatekeep.
Yeah, literally. So
literally.
yeah, like feel free if I don't know if there's like a portal or whatever, but like feel free to like check my email or whatever anywhere and yeah.
Yeah, we can put it on our channel, I think.
Yeah, nice. We can put it in the announcements. But yeah, thank you so much, especially for like being so open and also giving up your time. Because I mean, you have a busy life. You're traveling here, going there, writing this. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure. And yeah, thank you both for having me.
No worries. How do we stop this recording? Is that up to Neil?
Yeah.